All right. Going live. See if what's everyone up to? So trying to get used to the YouTube deal. It's tricky camera. Tricky. Check it out. See if there. All right. We're good. All right. Today is Tuesday, April 11th, the year of our Lord 2023. And this is officially first YouTube Live. On the Filled by Amazon channel, where I talk all things Amazon, business, mindset, and general chicanery. And we're going to get Cisco in here. See what his wise words of wisdom are today. As you can see behind me, Masters of the Universe, He-Man. Some may think those are cereal boxes, but it's actually He-Man figurines. All right. And right in the middle, these two guys are exclusive WWE versions. One is this one is Ultimate Warrior, and this one is Kane. So they're just kind of cool. The ones kind of backwards. These ones here came out in 2020, limited run, and I think those are the better figurines. But I sold a bunch of those on Amazon and saved some for myself. The ones on the lower shelf are 2021, I think. There's a couple that are 2022. Anyways, those are more characters, but snatched up a couple of those just because it completed kind of like the core character line. Anyways, see if anybody gets on, wants to ask any questions. Feel free. Yeah, I don't have that StreamYard growth or business plan. Just getting this, driving it like a rental, checking all the features out. I actually think I have a different setup where the overlay isn't going to be there. I'll have to figure that out after this. Did live on Instagram the other night using this. Tonight it's YouTube, and just going to see what happens. So if you're new, probably not. My name's Philip, and I'm a Amazon seller. Sold many figures of numbers, and
How many
was
figures of
gonna
numbers was that? 10 figures? Is that what you were saying?
I've sold many figures, some negative at
Oh.
times. So
Oh, you mean action figures? Is that what we're selling?
yep.
I knew it.
So top shelf 2020 version. That's the COVID line.
Nice.
Bottom shelf is 2021, but 2020 was better. Speaking of figurines, who was talking about? I think you guys were talking on the Doughboys podcast. I'm pretty sure we weren't talking about it, but you guys were talking with somebody about the Godzilla
Yeah.
toys.
Well, it was Carter.
Okay, yeah, that's right. That's right. So there was another run recently of those. I don't know if you saw.
No, I did not.
Yeah, think they're at the Bullseye Red Circle store.
The Bullseye. Oh, really? The Bullseye
Yeah.
Red Circle store.
Yeah.
Like a Bullseye from Toy Story? Is that what you're saying? Barnes
no.
Yard?
No.
No, I know.
Saul says
I get the reference. What's
yeah.
up, Saul? How are you, buddy? Trying to get this posted on the gram.
So I think I have. So you'll notice the StreamYard overlay logo.
Yeah.
I think I must have signed in with the wrong email because I'm pretty sure I have the paid version where some of that stuff can go right, unless that is included on one of their paid lower tier plans. I don't remember.
Negative. It is not.
Okay. Yeah, I must have signed in with the wrong email. I must have set up a free account because I know I have a paid account now for StreamYard. And because I do want to do more videos.
You have
about
to,
history, that sort of stuff. Anyways, what's up with you? I haven't talked to you for a while.
Nothing really. Nothing's changed. Yeah, I wish I had some exciting news for you. But no, nothing's really changed. Just same old.
Yeah.
Yeah, enjoying life. Getting the Disney annual pass here soon, whenever they launch.
What does that entail? I don't know anything about what the. Does that mean you can go as many times as you want? Kind of like it's a cheaper deal. Okay.
Kind of. If you have to at least go, I think it's like 9 times or to 9 different parks for it to make sense. For it to like be a wash.
So talk to me like I'm a 5-year-old. When you say different parts, that's within Disney there are like, is Epcot a different park?
It's a park. Yeah. Oh, okay. So Epcot's a different park. Animal Kingdom's a different park.
Okay.
Magic Kingdom and then Hollywood Studios are all different parks. And then they have 2 water parks aside from that. And then so for you to recoup your money, you would have to at least go to 9 parks at the one rate, or I think it's 7 parks with the park hopper thing. Okay. The park hopper is basically you can go to 2 different parks in a single day.
Normally you can't.
So you can. You just have to buy a whole new ticket. So each park would be a ticket. So what people do is they pay like an extra like $60 to their park ticket to add the hopper portion. Yeah. So that way in the morning they can do one park and then the afternoon they can do another park.
Okay.
So
yeah. So in the long run, if you're a Disney fan, as you are, then it is more bang for your buck. So two things. One is that's kind of like, so near me we have one of the top zoos in the world, and
Wow.
the annual membership for a family is like 100. It might be 150. I think it raised it a little bit for the annual plan for a family, right? If you go one time and pay for, like, let's just say you have 3 kids, 2 adults, just that one time, it's probably like $110. So, like,
It's
and
well worth it.
after you go one time, like if you're gonna go another time, like the annual plan is way better. It's kind of like that. But my neighbor, his like his grandfather or his great grandfather owned a big portion of the land that got sold to make Disney World. So in their family, they have passes for like
Ever.
per- perpetuity or whatever the word is,
Yeah.
for whenever they want to go. It's kind of weird.
That's
So
kind of really cool.
yeah,
You
it's
know?
cool. I mean, that they made that deal. And
I yeah, go ahead.
I would say it was kind of cool that they made that deal for, I mean, the grandchildren and down the line. So
It's crazy, like the different things that different companies offer that's obviously like not promoted to the general public just because they're too expensive. Like I saw an interview with Mark Cuban, and I mean he's in trouble right now, but um he was talking about how he has life passes for American Airlines. I guess at some point in his
oh
life
yeah.
he was like, you saw that, right?
I've seen that before, but that's a deal. You can buy that.
Yeah, and I thought that was wild. I mean, I how much is it? Do
Yeah.
you know?
I forgot what he said, but I want to say somebody else did that too, and I don't know if it was American Airlines. It might have been like Delta as well. But yeah, there was like somebody. It might have been a comedian was telling that story. I was listening to that, like they were flying so much they just literally were like, "What's the best deal you got?" And they're like, "Well, we got like a lifetime pass." But yeah, I do remember reading that one time about Mark Cuban. So what's he in trouble
Yeah.
for?
I'm not sure. It's has to do with the NBA and basketball. The NBA is investigating his team, the kind of Cavaliers, the
Mavericks.
Mavericks. Yeah.
They play tonight, I think.
Do they? I hope they win.
Yeah,
I like
I
Mark
think they
Cuban.
play. I think they play the Lakers. It's like a play-in. So I don't follow the NBA at all, but it's like a play-in to get to the playoffs or something like that.
How many Amazon sellers does it take to get NBA facts right? The world may never know.
Oh, jeez. There's some Amazon sellers that do a little side hustle on gambling, so
It's true.
there's probably some that could set us straight.
I can only do NFL. That's my only sport.
Mhm.
Maybe some wrestling.
Yeah. Well, U.S. Open is coming up in Las Vegas. If you want to talk wrestling, so Gable Stevenson, Olympic gold medalist at heavyweight, had retired, left his. So in wrestling, there's this thing where, like, if you leave your shoes on the mat after you wrestle a match, that's kind of like the sign that you're retiring, like you're done with the
Really?
sport. Yeah, it's like, I don't know where it came from, but so he I'm gonna give you a story that you don't care about nor ask for, but
I'll
so
love it.
he was a 3-time national champion for Minnesota. He won the Hodge Trophy, which is their version. It's the college wrestling version of the Heisman. He won that 2 years in a row. Only person ever to do that at heavyweight. He won the Olympic gold medal in whatever the last Summer Olympics were, 2021 technically, I think. And he won it with 1 second left, and he left his shoes on the mat. So everyone's like, because he signed a deal with the WWE. So everyone's like,
Yeah.
he's done like real wrestling. He's going to go play The Rock. Anyways, he just announced today that he's going to be at the U.S. Open competing for a spot on the world team and possibly the
That's
Olympic team.
cool.
So.
You know, he was a really prolific wrestler. Some guy named Brock Lesnar.
Brock Lesnar, he wrestled for Minnesota heavyweight.
He was pretty prolific from what I hear.
Yeah, that dude is massive.
He was a terrible UFC fighter, but
He
I
played
heard
for the
wrestling.
Vikings, or he tried out for the Vikings too.
Yeah, and he's on roids, and I think he like lost and like
Yeah,
he didn't make it from what I remember. I think he
yeah.
just made it to like training camp.
There was a guy that just retired. He was a lineman, Richie Incognito. You ever heard of him?
Yeah. Yep.
So
He retired like a couple years ago.
yeah, so he played for the University of Nebraska, and I had a friend who played for Nebraska as well, and it was well known that Richie was on steroids at the time,
Yeah.
and would get other players to pass the urine test for him. So, but you could kind of like he got in some trouble over the years.
Yeah, he got in trouble with the whole scandal. I forgot which. I think he was with the Rams, or I forgot which team he was with.
Might have been, I think it was the Raiders at one point too.
Yeah, maybe it was with the Raiders. He was just, I guess, bullying one of the teammates. I don't know how you get caught
Bullying?
bullying in football. It was
Yeah.
more than that. I think, I think he was. Yeah, he was just being a real jerk. He wasn't being a good teammate, and so he kind of got in trouble for that. Some real hazing, I think he was trying to do.
Yeah. It says Brock sucked at UFC. UFC is a tough go. You gotta.
Yeah.
I never got into the UFC. I've watched some fights, but I'm not like it's like a. It can be a true blood sport. I don't know.
Yeah, it really is. Saul, am I right? Did Rey Mysterio fight his son at WrestleMania and like literally took off his belt and did what parents do sometimes to their kids?
The one that just happened, the WrestleMania that just happened.
Yeah, I saw like random. I didn't watch it, but I saw random like clips come through my feed, and I was like, "No way, no way is Rey Mysterio 5'5" and his son is 6'6".
Yeah. I just gave a PlayStation 5 game that I got back as an Amazon return of WWE to my nephew because he has a PlayStation 5. So I asked him about it. He was over this last weekend. I gave it to him a couple weeks ago. I was like, "Hey, you've been playing that game?" Because he's like 9 years old and he plays some pretty violent games, which I'm surprised about. But he's like, "Yeah, we play it all the time now." The wrestling game. So
violent games, man. That's where it's at. That's where the money's at.
Okay.
Yeah.
So there's your answer.
There it is. Those are some good clips, though.
Okay. So, are you doing any RA lately?
Actually, the reason why I was late is that I was doing a pickup over at the Red Bullseye store.
For real?
Mm-hmm.
I park in the pickup spots when I go in the store.
You jerk! You're the person I hate.
No, because the Target that I typically will go to, the one that's closest to me, there's literally like 15 pickup spots, and the most I've ever seen is like 2 cars there.
Yeah,
it's such a ridiculous portion of their parking lot. And actually, there's another one here in town that's like that, and I'm just like, I'm parking here. I am picking up something.
Yeah, that's true. The only one that's ever made sense to me are the Walmart ones. The Walmart ones tend to get like filled up, at least in my area.
Yeah, I used to park in the pharmacy Walmart pickup spots.
Ooh. You're living on the edge, man.
They're not. Well, actually, the Walmart nearest to me, they actually took those away because I don't think anybody was actually utilizing them for.
Yeah.
Like I don't think anyone from the pharmacy was going out there enough to justify. But the actual Walmart pickup area, yeah, they usually have quite a few spots, and I never park there to go inside because it's too far away to walk.
So Phil, let's go a little further into who Phil is. Let's go behind the Amazon seller and into the eyes of the person. How did you get into wrestling? Because I know you have a deep-seated love for wrestling aside from WWE and all that stuff. How did that all come to be?
So when I was in middle school, when I was in 7th grade, the wrestling coach came up and recruited me, and he said, "Hey, like, you're small, and there's not a lot of guys at the lower weights in middle school. So you could, I knew, like, I had no interest and never thought about it. Didn't even know like there was a wrestling team at the middle school at the time. And he was just like, you can probably win a lot because there's not a lot of people your size. Like 7th grade, I wrestled at 70 pounds.
Really?
So, and that was the lowest weight class in middle school. So from there, started it, liked it, continued in high school. And then I went to the state championship 3 years in a row, my last 3 years of high school. And so kind of just really fell in love with the sport then, and then just followed it. And then I recently started coaching a couple of years ago. So,
nice.
you know.
No wonder you're up in East Bay with all the wrestling gear. I knew there was a reason for the knowledge.
Yeah, when East Bay closed down, I cleared out a lot of the wrestling stuff.
Nice.
I bought the school that I coach at. I bought uniforms for the whole team, and it was like dirt cheap. And then I bought
and
a
a
ton
business
of
expense.
and a business expense. Yep. And then I bought a ton of wrestling shoes, and I've sold those on Amazon.
Nice. That's so cool.
Yeah, the only downside is that some of that stuff is a seasonal sport. Like it goes from October. I mean, it's a long season. It goes from October to it really winds down in like July, with some of the Olympic style stuff. But
so you're still in the midst of it.
Little bit. I still have a few pairs that have been trickling through, but the bulk of them I sold because your high school and your college seasons, like they ramp up like they start practicing usually in October. So I sold the bulk of my stuff November, December, a little bit into January, and then I'm still trickling some through. So
nice.
Anyways, the weather's getting nice, so we can move from the Peloton to the real bike.
Yeah, that's true. I took it out. I got it all tuned up, so it's ready to go. I love cycling, man. It's good for the knees.
Okay. What got you into cycling? Talk about.
Sure. A little bit of competition. So I had I had a friend who he's a friend, but he's always been very showboaty and X, Y, and Z and whatnot, right? And he ended up getting sick health-wise and ended up losing a lot of weight. And he would always say that it was his consistency to like cycling and going, working out. And I'm there in the background just calling BS. I was like, man, shut up, man. You lying. And then, so we just had a little friendly competition. I ended up getting a bike because obviously it's COVID and we're all trying to like get out of the house. And then, I don't know. It started off with a spark to like lose more weight than he did. And then it just kind of stayed with me. I've gained weight since then, but hopefully we can lose it all back again this summer.
Okay. I was going to say, you're doing it wrong, man. The goal now. So you have a real bike. Like it's not like a huffy mountain bike.
No. I have a real,
what do they call them? Road bikes or?
I have a touring bike, and it's a real bike. It's not a Walmart $100 bike. It's a real like $2,500 bike.
Okay. So the next question is, when you obviously like as the weather gets nicer, you're not just hopping on and busting out rides, but as a little bit of time goes on, once you start riding, are you the type of rider who's busting out like 25, 50-mile rides? Because I know some of those
50
guys.
miles.
Okay.
Yeah, no, I've never done a 50 miler. My daily route is about 17 miles. And then if I have like a little extra time or I'm just like in the mood or what may have you, if it's a nice weekend, I'll do, a 25-mile ride. But I think 29 is probably the max I've done in one session. I've probably done like 40 miles in a day, but never like in one ride.
Okay. Yeah, I know some guys here locally who are into riding, and they will they'll do those long rides. So I've rode
Yeah.
50 miles one time for a fundraiser, and that about killed me. So I
Yeah,
actually
it's definitely
like half a mile from my house. I couldn't ride anymore. I had to have my wife come pick me up. This is like
it's
10, 12 years ago.
it's tough because a lot of people don't like. I
But
feel
I
like it's
was
kind of
on like a $100 Walmart bike.
see that's where
So
you messed up. But even then, like I feel like it's kind of like swimming. A lot of people don't see how physical swimming can be
mhm,
because you don't see like the sweat. And
yeah,
same with cycling. I feel like a lot of people just think it's just pedal, pedal, cruise, pedal, pedal, cruise. But no, it's definitely a lot more than just that. And it's definitely exhausting. And it definitely, if you're not wearing the right gear, hurts your gluteus maximus. So,
yep,
yep. So it's definitely a tough sport for sure. And it keeps your heart rate at a good rhythm. I feel like,
yeah,
if you do like high interval, if you do like weight training, your heart rate can kind of fluctuate depending on like where you're at in your session. But I see feel like cycling and just even with jogging, just like keeps your heart rate at a nice
yeah.
even pace.
I do a lot of that. I do a lot of running, but you know, not always for pleasure, just because,
Health.
yeah, I want to be healthy.
Yeah,
So
we have to, man. We have to now that we're getting older. If we want to stay in business and not worry about health and being in the doctor's office, then
mhm.
we got to stay healthy, man.
Yep. So you're gonna do 75 hard?
Yeah,
And
I think so. I need to. I did it back in 2021
really?
and I feel yeah, and that's when I lost my so I initially at my heaviest I weighed 312. And then that's when my friend, started
Okay.
BSing and
All
saying he
right.
lost a lot of weight. And then we got into 25 hard or 75 hard and I dropped down to 255.
Oh,
Um and then Christmas hit, and then winter hit, and then I kind of ended up sliding
mhm.
backwards. I haven't gone
So
back
you
up to
completed it
300.
then? You completed it then?
Yeah, yeah. I
Oh
did
wow.
longer. I did 90 days.
Wow. Okay.
Hmm.
That's impressive. I'm on I think today's day 41. Yeah, today's day 41. I've tried it one other time before and I got like, I don't even know if I made it to day 15. Seems like I did it like day 13 or something like that. And so
It's definitely
I,
tough. Ooh, Jeff, with the questions. Which repressor do you use? I switched from Be Cool to Go Aura. Let me slide this over. And I've been seeing a lot of sales less than the buy box. Yeah, you know what, Jeff? I kind of did the same thing, and haven't been impressed. Um,
you were using BQ or
I
Be
was
Cool?
using Be Cool. Yeah, I was
Okay.
using Be Cool, and I was happy. I was content. I had no like grievances, and then I switched to Go Aura because they started promoting heavy the
Hmm.
their AI repricer that they're coming out with.
Hmm.
And that hasn't come out yet, to my knowledge, at least. And yeah,
Their
it's
beta
been a little
versions, their beta
lackluster
versions out, but to select
for whoever. Yeah,
users.
exactly. I was not select, so
Okay. So I've never used Be Cool. So how, when you were using it, did you ever have to reach out to support? And how was their support?
I never had to reach out to their support. There was one time where the repricer was glitching, and I just turned it off and turned it back on, and then it was
Okay.
fine.
Reason I
So
ask is because I use GoAura, or I did use them. I use Seller Snap currently.
yeah,
I did use GoAura, and Jeff, I would say reach out to their support because their support was really good. Um,
Go
and
Aura.
yeah, GoAura support. Dylan Carter is the guy who owns it, and he's a great guy. He was a I don't think he still sells on Amazon, but he was a very high figure 7, maybe 8-figure seller. Anyways, like I still get communications from them, like ask me if I want to come back. Like it's been well over a year, but I was impressed with their support. I didn't like Goer because it was so many different rules. Maybe their AI version will be a little bit closer to what Seller Snap is like, where you kind of just set your mins and maxes and kind of forget it. But if you're having issues with Go Aura, I would um, definitely reach out. And um, Jeff says Sneller Snap, but the price is a little tough to swallow. Yeah, it's expensive. I wouldn't recommend getting Seller Snap unless you're doing 30K,
Yeah.
40K a month at
Yeah,
least.
that's what you're-
Um,
And they
You're
have
gonna-
they have a escalator package, don't they? So if you are doing less than that, you can.
They have
hop in
yeah,
at,
they
like,
have some
half the
kind of
rate.
they have some kind of like, I don't want to say it's a trial run, but it's something like a trial run. And you can kind of see how it works. And I think if it boosts your sales type deal. For me, I was sold on like the first 2 or 3 days because, with Go Aura, at least at the time, and sounds like it still is kind of currently, a lot of it's rule based. So you're setting rules based on this and that.
It's all rule based.
Yeah. And so, I was getting a repricer to handle a task that I didn't want to do myself. I mean, no one really should be repricing their stuff at all.
Yeah. No.
Unless you have like less than 10 ASINs, but even then. But I just was finding with Go Aura that there were times where I was getting sales lower than what I set my minimum rule to. And it happened quite enough times that I was like, I don't like this. I want to check something else out. I was already doing probably around 35, 40K a month in sales. And so I was like, I'm just going to try the Seller Snap, see how it works. I had some stale inventory that was sitting there. Repricer rules were applied. And within the first 2 or 3 days of turning on Seller Snap, I sold through all of that stale inventory at a profit. So like I had, I was probably doing like, a good day was like $1,500, $2,000 sales. Probably remember like 1,500. Anyways, like the first week of using Seller Snap, I had multiple $5,000 days, and it was just inventory that like my mins and maxes were the same in both repricers, but Seller Snap moved that stuff quickly. So
drop the affiliate link in the description.
Yeah, I don't have one. But yeah,
just a sneak peek
point.
for a shameless plug. We actually have a Seller Snap spokesperson on one of the Doughboys podcasts that will be coming out here in the next couple of weeks.
Somebody that works for him?
Mm-hmm.
Is it a lady or a guy?
It's a guy.
Okay.
He's another like podcast, and he's usually is the face, I guess you could say.
Okay. Yeah, Jeff said it's $250 entry point, which at that point, if that was the price, I would choose that over it. I'm paying a little bit more for that, but I mean, literally, I do two things with my repricer. I set my mins and maxes, which I kind of wish they fed over from Inventory Lab, but they don't. But I set my mins and maxes and turn on my AI repricer. And then when I want to liquidate inventory that hasn't sold quick enough for me, then I do the setting of win the buy box. And basically I'm the price tanker, but I'm setting the price usually at my break even price or just slightly below. So, and that's what I wanted in a repricer. I didn't want to have to really
think about it too much.
Go Aura, I was going in all the time and trying to figure out why stuff's selling lower than what I wanted it to. Why is this not working? And that's not what I was looking for. But maybe their new AI stuff will work better.
We'll see, but it's taking too long to come out. I thought it would have been out by now. Sad face.
Do I take advantage of all the tiers in Seller Snap? I'm not sure what. There's different settings you can do within Seller Snap, if that's what you're referring to. But I have like the highest paid plan. There are several settings within it. The ones I use are just the AI and then win buy box. But like there are some rule based settings you can choose. So I
That
heard
sounds like
Scott
a
Needham.
good sounds like a good YouTube video that you can do.
Mm-hmm. It does. I heard Scott Needham say it doesn't repricers. There's not one that's better than the other. It's just how you work them.
I think there's some truth to it, but I think it's a little bit different with Seller Snap. I feel like it's the same with everything under Seller Snap because I don't see a difference really between Be Cool and Go Aura from what I can tell. I guess
They're
Go
priced
Aura
around
has
the same, aren't they?
they are so Go Aura, from my understanding, they only have one price, and it's like 99, 98,
Yep.
Unless you use the Side Hustle Network code, which is just Side Hustle Network, all caps, and it brings it down to 79, so like $20 off. It said
Is that a limited? Is that a limited like 1 month price?
So it's supposed to be.
Oh,
but hopefully Go
Secret
Aura's not in
sauce way?
here. Yeah, hopefully Go Aura's not here, but it's been 3 months and it's still $79.99. So I'll take it. But either way, yeah, Be Cool is the same price. But unless you're like just starting out, then they do have a $25 plan, which from if I recall, they haven't changed it. It's like 100 ASINs and no AI, just rule based.
Okay. So fun. You want to hear a funny story about me being a dumb Amazon seller starting out? When it comes to pricing. So, I started with
that's right.
books.
The guy that just started using credit cards to buy inventory a couple of months ago.
So let me come back to my dumb story. Speaking of that, I got an email from Rakuten asking if I was a reseller because of how many orders I've been pushing through recently. And I was like, that's kind of weird. I haven't heard of anybody else getting those. I mean, I've heard of people having problems, but like, I'm not like my quarterly check's going to be like $2,500. I've heard of people getting way higher amount.
So we just interviewed Diana, the Ulta Queen, on IG.
Yep. I want to know what she's selling from Ulta. So
yeah, me too. Trust me, she didn't give any of her sauce out. But yeah, she told us the same thing. She told us the exact same thing. Yeah, and from my understanding, Rakuten is reseller friendly, but if you read some of their like exclusions, it will say in the exclusion for like Walmart or for Nike that if Walmart or Nike thinks it's for reselling, then they have the right to keep it away. So I'm assuming Rakuten's reaching out to see if they can label people.
I've made some Nike orders, and here's the thing: is I had one of my cards because they limit you to like 10.
Yeah,
and Nike is. I must have missed a notification from my Capital One Spark where sometimes they're like, "Hey, did you make like it looks like you made the same purchase multiple times for the same amount? Like, did you mean?" I must have missed one of those notifications because I got a notification from PayPal saying we noticed that you are disputing a charge. I was like, "What?"
Nah.
And they said we can't do anything because you made the dispute with your credit card. So I have to reach out to Capital One tomorrow. Like I just looked at this afternoon. I have to reach out to Capital One tomorrow and say, like, did you dispute it? Because the orders that I made were the same amount. It was back-to-back orders of the same exact amount because it was 10 units each.
Yeah.
But the order shipped. So now I'm thinking, like, did they make a chargeback claim to Nike on my behalf? And then that triggered something from Rakuten. Like, I don't know. It's just weird out of the blue. So, and I'm slow to the game because I didn't use credit cards until recently. And so I've not used like Top Cashback or Honey or anything like that. I've used Capital One a couple times, but sometimes when you can add all those Chrome extensions, I think I used Honey for a little bit, but
what I'll say as far as like credit card game, enjoy it while you can. Because there's a lot of legislative stuff that's going in the pipeline.
You're the one who told me to use credit cards.
Use it while you can. You're old enough to remember when you used to be able to get rewards for using your debit card.
I don't think I remember that.
I was like 7.
What kind of rewards?
Been like 25. It was like.
What kind of rewards were you getting? I don't remember this.
I wasn't getting that. I just remember like.
it being a thing in my family.
Like
'Cause they were
points.
you would get points. You'd get cash back. It's like a
Really?
0.5 of a percentage cash back for using your debit card specifically, and that's why I remember specifically because I got reamed by my mom one time because I used the debit card at McDonald's but ran it as credit instead of debit, and she hit me upside the head because I was supposed to enter the PIN to do debit so she can get the points.
Man, if that
That's
would have
how
been
I
a thing when I started selling on Amazon, I'd have been rolling in
those
points.
points. But yeah, so
So
apparently there's legislative coming down that there's someone, I forgot which state it is, that they're trying to pass so that it no longer be it basically just negates the reason why credit card companies do with points. And it's because
Okay.
they make so much money on the back end with terminal
Okay.
fees and etc.
Yeah.
So what the legislation is supposed to be is it's supposed to be more, I guess, like small business friendly, because we won't or if we had like an actual like bricks and mortar shop, we wouldn't incur such high fees.
Okay.
But then in that case, then they're not going to give away the points either.
I
That's where
feel like
they'll
I did read
recoup their
something
money.
about that somewhere about ending credit card rewards. Not that you mentioned it. So going back to my I didn't know what I was doing for like the 10th time story on repricing. So when I started with used books, I didn't need a repricer really. It was like, you're selling them so low. After a couple months, I did get a book repricer. I used Reprice It, which is geared towards books. And when I started to branch out of books, I went into grocery, which is still a great category. And I was selling this cereal, like this specialty cereal that was a limited edition. And one of the other sellers was like an hour from me because it was like a regional limited edition, whatever run that you could only get within a certain part of the country. Anyways, me not knowing really how repricers worked, even though I had one for books, but it was such I think I paid like $20 a month, $19 a month. Anyways, I remember driving or riding. My wife was driving. I remember riding and I'm trying to get sales for the cereal because I sent a bunch in, and I'm like lowering my price by like 5 cents, 4 cents. And I'd refresh the app and I was like, this other seller must be looking at the app because their price keeps just dropping by like a penny. And I thought they were also looking at their app and undercutting me, but they were probably a smart seller and using a repricer.
Yep. Yeah. No. I was.
And
right
now
there with
I'm
you.
like, now I was like,
I
I'm
was
dumb
definitely right there
because
with you for sure.
the cereal was like selling for like
Hold on.
19.
I'll be
20
right
bucks.
back.
Okay. So the cereal was selling for like 19, 20 bucks. And I tried to drop the price down to like 14 bucks. And then unfortunately it stayed around 14 bucks. Even trying to raise the prices back up. So, yep. You learn from your mistakes. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is when you find out there's reasons why people do what they do, why they get repricers, and why you don't want to undercut. Set it to meet the buy box or set it higher before you send your inventory in. Don't try to match the buy box until your inventory is active. You'll be surprised you can get sales actually even at your higher price. Because if you set them at the buy box, maybe lower, because when your inventory goes active, you've already set it at a certain price. So the downward trend can continue. What's my business goals right now? Growth. So right now, I am outsourcing product research a little bit, getting that task. I'm just trying to get tasks off of my plate to kind of focus on how I can grow the best. I had 2 calls today, one with somebody doing wholesale and somebody else killing it with RA. And they gave me some ideas because I've thought about, I've done OA now pretty much exclusively for a little bit. I haven't done as much RA as I used to. That I've thought about getting back into RA. I'm hiring somebody here locally to do prep for me, even though he's a prep center. But I'm also um, I'm getting back into small and light things that make more sense to have shipped to me. So just trying to figure out the best ways to grow, get my business up there. And so private label, still a focus, but I have to remove myself from in the business a little bit and figure out a way to grow, but at the same time, figure out how to keep the ball rolling, because this is my full-time job, how I, take care of my family. So Cisco, what are your business goals?
I think kind of a preview to our conversation earlier. I've been spending this whole week really trying to figure out how to be more productive. I have a lot of personal goals with my family. Just to kind of give you guys a little bit of insight, we're trying to buy a bigger home to expand our family. And so with that comes a lot more responsibility, and to continue to be able to live comfortably, more money needs to be made. So I'm trying to figure out how to balance everything and still kind of be present in my family's life.
And you do the corporate job, so.
And I do the corporate job, but I'll be honest, like the corporate job has been, since COVID, it's kind of what's been I've been able to do both because of COVID and because we kind of moved remote.
Right.
So it's definitely been helpful. So we'll see. I think there's a lot of big plans for this summer. And my goal is actually, and I've said this in the past, but I really want to stick to it. I really want to leave the corporate job probably by this time next year, maybe even sooner. But first, close on the bigger home.
Yeah. And that's obviously bigger home's going to be, like you said, more cost. So add to the bottom line. So
yeah. So right now we're in a steady pace of having. Normally we like to, just kind of going to personal finances, we like to carry between 3 to 6 months of just savings for living expenses, because we are planning on leaving the corporate job. We're trying to bump that up to like 9 months, just in case of anything.
Living in the same area or moving out of the area?
If we're buying a house, it would be literally probably across the street next door.
You have your eye on the lot.
So it's funny because I know Danny's in here, and Danny would probably veto against this. But yeah, it's a new construction that's being built across the street down the road. And so we're looking at those, and those go on sale in June. So it's 2 months from now. So we'll see. And those will probably be ready to move in probably by February of next year.
RA feels like the biggest time suck. It can be. Depends. I mean, OA can be a big time suck as well.
What I would say about RA is that it's a big time suck if you're aimlessly going and scanning, which at the same time, it's when you find like some of the most profitable things. But if you have a list of things that you're going for that you already know sell well, and I'm not in any of these Discords, but one of my friends is in one of these Discords. They have Walmart employees. So even though BrickSeek isn't accurate anymore, if you have a connection with a Walmart employee, they can still use their Telezon to give you accurate inventory for your area. Not even just their own store, for the area.
You know what really helps too? You can actually knock out 2 birds with 1 stone with doing RA. It's just manually sourcing before you go, like you said.
You have to feed 2 birds with one stone.
Okay, well, obviously you're a pacifist, so
you don't want to knock them out, man. What the birds do to you?
I don't know. Yeah, so if you're just going just to see what you can find, scan and clearance out, it's not going to be as productive. I mean, you do run into things every once in a while that kind of surprise you, but if you don't go in with some intention, so like the guy I was talking to today, they they're pushing a couple $1 million, and they primarily do RA. And I was just trying to like pick his brain. What are you doing? What strategies are you using? And so I mean, long story short, he basically, proved that point. He goes in with intention. He knows what sales are going to be running. Like I mean, he doesn't source at Walgreens, I don't think, because he didn't bring that store up at all. But like, I know Walgreens regularly runs sales on different categories. So like, if you know those sales cycles, I mean, obviously, like Walmart's not going to run they have their clearance times of the year, but if you go with intention, but if you do manual sourcing, you can find enough where you can, like start to make a list. Like last year, I did a couple overnight trips, like 2 or 3 day trips. I would hit a ton of Walmarts. So I made a list, like 2 pages long of these are the items I want to get. Every Walmart I went into, I checked for those. Some Walmarts didn't have some of the things on that list, but they had all the other stuff, and just got as much as I could and got back and prepped. I mean, and some of them were items like, I was only going to buy 15 total, even though I was going to 40 Walmarts. I was only buying 15 total because the sales rank wasn't great, but I thought I can sell 15 of these, make $50. And then another item I was trying to buy 200-300. So
I feel that.
would you go do RA if Godzilla's made a third comeback? Probably. The Mech Godzillas, and then there was the creatures. I don't remember what the creatures were called. It was like a 3-legged.
The wing-batted person.
Yeah.
Wing bat. Yeah. I know what you're talking about. Those were always the best. Or the crawlers.
The skull crawlers. That's what they were.
Skull crawlers.
Yeah.
The bundles. I remember they were nuts.
Mm-hmm. I don't remember. I can't remember the name of it. It's like, I think it starts with a G, like the slime stretch figures. It's not Yu-Gi-Oh.
Ninjago. Go ninjas. Go ninjas.
Yeah. They'll have like the super rare ones.
Yep.
Whatever one is out now that's rare, I haven't seen in any stores, but I mean, I haven't done a ton of RA, but whatever previous last year's model was, I remember those were like, I would snag them and list them in the store, and they would sell before I got out of the store.
Do you remember the octopus with the brain?
That's what I think I'm thinking of.
That was one of the rare ones.
Yeah, I think now it's like an eyeball, big eyeball or something. But
yeah, and I don't know what it was. There was one Bullseye dog store in my area, and it just every single week on a weekly basis on Tuesday they had 4 every single Tuesday. I just figured out the rhythm, went in there every single Tuesday, grabbed my 4. Good times.
Yep. There's money to be made in any method. Just got to put in the work. So
that's very true.
Yep.
I don't know. A lot of people on Twitter are saying OA is overrated now.
I've seen that. You know what? I'll tell you why I think. I'll give you my hot take is because there's always going to be a cycle. I mean, as time goes on, like it's different from Amazon in 2012, 13, 14. But as time goes on, more people get on social media, more people make dumb TikTok stuff saying, buy this for $5, sell it for $30. And it's like a 50-pound object. They're not making any money on it. Anyways, the more of the stuff that happens, you're going to have this cycle of new sellers. It's a lot easier to find out information about on gating and where you can get, Nike products at or whatever big brand. So right away, I think some of those sellers are going to go attack those bigger brands out of the gate, not know what they're doing, price incredibly wrong. And So if your bread and butter is bigger brands because you think the volume is there, then yeah, I think you can see. I could see where you could say it's saturated. But if you're selling boring stuff like home repair things or grocery, I mean beauty, there are there are even listings within those categories that get saturated. But everyone
Refrigerator
forgot
replacement parts.
about great value, right? That was the big start to reverse sourcing, is look up great value and find sellers who are on great value listings, because they got it from Walmart, and everyone forgot about that.
You have a valid point there.
Yeah.
You have a valid point. Big valid
Wholesale's the
point.
next OA. Yeah, but people aren't going to know enough to do well in wholesale or have the business sense to understand setting up proper systems, how much prep
you
it
get-
takes to do wholesale. So
That's true. And there's also a relationship building aspect to it as well.
yeah, for sure. Well, I made a couple orders at ASD, and they arrived in a few pallets, and I was like, dang, that's a lot of stuff.
Funny story. Did you know about Did you hear KV Flip's story about him going to each booth saying he's an Amazon seller, or asking if they sell to Amazon sellers?
No, I saw him, but he didn't tell me that story. I think I told you a story about a lady who I saw doing that.
Yeah. And then it's funny because I went to Kevin and told him, oh, he must have been that lady.
Ah,
Because he was telling me that his name tag had Amazon reseller on it.
yep.
And then 2, he was saying that like for the first couple ones, he walked up and said, hey, do you guys sell to Amazon sellers? Do you guys sell to Amazon sellers?
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't realize they did that. I got my badge like the day before it started, and then I saw that it said Amazon. So then that night I just created another registration.
Nice.
And then went back the next day and got a different badge. Logan, forget what he had. He had something like super generic on his, like buyer or something like that, because there were people there who had their buyers with him or whatever.
Yeah.
It was something really generic, but I was like, that's smart. So
Logan's an interesting cookie.
Yep. And he hasn't got his Amazon stuff straightened out, has he?
No, I've kind of felt bad asking at this point, to be honest.
I've asked him a couple times on his noonday lives, but man, he's on the surface. Logan, you're handling it way better than I would.
Well, the good thing about Logan is that when he says that he looks at things like a chessboard, and if he like complains and cries about it, it's not going to help anything. He's really true to that. And 2, luckily for him, Amazon is the chunk of his business, but he did already have some other streams of income coming in.
Yeah. So I have some VAs, and thought about hiring another one at the end of this month. I'm still on the fence about that, but if I do, I'm going to promote one of my current sourcers to like a reviewer. But they're doing really well. I've actually toyed around with putting out like a small leads list, because there's several days where I'm like, I'm not buying all these leads. Like, they're all good leads, but
yeah,
I'm not
buying every single one.
I'm not buying it. I mean, I could, but maybe that's why Rakuten's reaching out to me.
Probably.
I should probably just send some over to you.
Yeah, that'd be nice. I would appreciate it. I'd really appreciate it.
I'll shoot you some.
Thanks, buddy. I'm still too scared to go into Kohl's and get those bras.
Yeah, I didn't even the last big clearance sale they had, I didn't even mess with Kohl's. I haven't messed with Kohl's for a little while.
Yeah, I actually, to be quite honest with you. There was a question I had for you. So what's your YouTube plan like? Are we going to be able to see you on lives more frequently?
Yeah, well, I got StreamYard. And
there you go.
The other night when I went live on Instagram, I was trying to figure out how to do it on Instagram, which I did. The only thing is I couldn't see myself. So
On Instagram?
I on through StreamYard on Instagram.
Yeah, that's true.
So,
So what you can
yeah,
do
I
is
am going to be doing
pop it on your
more.
phone.
Yeah, I thought about that after the fact.
Yeah.
So all I saw was a frozen picture of when I initially went live, but I could see all the
Boomer.
comments.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's okay. You're a boomer.
Yeah, whatever. I know.
Oh, so okay, sorry. So the reason I paused earlier was because I there was something on my mind that I was trying to re-grab from our previous conversation. So we were talking about how a bunch of Amazon sellers, it's kind of easy to kind of get started, but they don't really know what they're doing. And ironically enough, I saw an article today that more than ever, um, parents of young adults are paying for their children's lifestyles. So more than ever, young adults are making a lot of mistakes, and their parents are essentially buying them out of whatever mistake they're in.
And depleting their own savings to do it.
Yeah.
Right.
So did you see the
Okay.
same article?
No, but I heard about it on the radio.
Yeah.
On
Yeah, and I was like,
on
wow.
AM radio because I'm old and I listen to AM talk radio.
Do you really listen to AM radio?
Yes, I do. In the mornings when I take my
Oh.
kids to school. When my last job, I drove a ton. And so I just had this habit of listening to like news talk radio only in the mornings. And my son is really into the news. He watches the news every morning. So when I take him to school, we just listen to talk radio. But yeah, I heard a little blurb, like a tease about people, adults depleting their
70%
savings.
of parents. Yeah, 70% of parents deplete their savings to bail out their kids. That is an astronomical number. And I wish I was in there, man, but my mom doesn't have any savings for me to grab from. I am her savings.
I don't think my parents would do that unless I was like in a dire situation, like I'm about to lose my house or something like that.
Yeah.
Not like, hey, I like I didn't pay my credit card bill for 3 months and now I have a bigger bill. Can you help me out? Like, I don't think they would help me with that.
Yeah, agreed. I don't think my mother would, even if she could. And then my wife's parents would, in the same scenario that you mentioned, but it would be a loan that we'd have to pay back.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I'd like to read that article now because I'd like to. I wonder, did it mention like the age range of parents who are doing that?
Yeah, it's a good question. I just read headlines so I can have a
Okay.
topic conversation
Yeah.
on YouTube lives. But yeah, no, it's very
Uh,
interesting. I'll
could
find
be.
it and we'll dive deeper into it. And now that you mentioned that you listen to a lot of AM radio, I'm going to.
I only
send
do it
you-
when I take my kids to school, which is
Okay, good excuse.
I
I'm
don't
gonna
listen to
send
it during
you
the day.
2 podcasts that I think would be very insightful for you. So the one that I listened to,
If it's Doughboys, that's a shameless plug.
that is a shameless plug. It wasn't going to be the Doughboys though. So the first one is Diaries of a CEO, and it's very intriguing. Do you know what Social Link is? I think it's called Social Link. Social Chain.
No.
So from my understanding, I don't know either. I just learned about it from the podcast, but I think they're a social media marketing agency, but they're a big social media marketing agency. So they do marketing for like Coca-Cola and big brands like that on social media. And so the CEO, founder of that company, decided that he wanted to start a podcast, but he wanted to be different than most podcasts. So he started it as a diary of a CEO. So he would literally just read pages of his diary out of his diary book and then just kind of go into detail of like where his mind was that day to jot these notes down. And so just kind of a inner look into his head. So the podcast starts off like that for the first like 10 episodes. And then from there, he ends up it just ends up being an interview podcast. So he interviews different CEOs, kind of the same thing. They talk a little bit about, their niche and their business, but then most of it is kind of just getting inside of their heads and kind of what makes them tick and stuff like that. Like he's had Simon Sinek in there 3 times.
Okay.
So he has people like from all walks of life and all types of businesses. So he's also had one of the twins from Zach and Cody come on.
Okay.
And ironically, I related to him quite a bit. He's had Seth Rogen on there, and I found Seth Rogen so intriguing compared to like what his personality is in the movies and whatnot.
Yeah.
And he
So
talks about
he
how
runs a successful cannabis company.
he does, and so like you think if you're into comedy, you can kind of roll with the punches because you have to like do stand up and sit in front of people not laughing and kind of have that kind
Mhm.
of hurt your soul. And he was saying like one of the toughest points in his life was when the Green Hornet came out because he had so many mixed feelings. Like it had such terrible critic reviews, and it was like his passion, like project
Yeah.
that he's like tried to do for his whole life. And then so he had everyone hating on it, and then on top of that, it's also his highest grossing movie ever. So it was like,
Wow.
do I celebrate this success or do I like cry and pity that people that I care about's opinions hate it? So it's very interesting.
So we've been going for an hour now. We can wrap it up soon if you want. But I forgot you mentioned productivity.
Mm-hmm.
So I forget the guy. I forget his last name. His first name is Rob. He's the guy who's the host of Ridiculousness.
Dudek, nuts. His brain is like a robot. He's
Okay.
another freaking I know exactly what you're talking about.
Do you know about like how he's broken down his schedule and like
Yeah,
Like-
crazy.
okay,
The macros and the micros that he goes into.
yeah,
It's nuts.
yeah. I thought that was pretty interesting. There's a couple episodes that he's on that he talks about that. Like that. That's one of those times where you're like, how is someone successful? Well,
They just think differently.
they've optimized their life, and yeah, they've done a little bit of work to figure out.
He said something like he paid $250,000 for someone to literally just like create like a spreadsheet of how he spends his time throughout the
Mhm.
year. And he's broken it down to like he spends
Yeah,
like a month and a half recording ridiculousness, and then so he has whatever X amount of time to do everything else. It's he like Rob Dyrdek is a complete other level. That was nuts when I hear his podcast.
yeah. You have to. So I haven't listened to both those podcasts, but this is Danny, right? Yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
explain it real
so
quick.
my understanding, so yeah, he's broken down. So back in 2015, he designed his ideal life, which there's a book. I can't remember Michael Hyatt, I think, wrote something several years ago about like designing your ideal life. And I don't know if this is where he got this idea from, but back in 2015, Rob Dyrdek, however you say his last name,
Dyrdek.
did this, and it was like a 10 to 20 year plan. And basically he breaks down, between work, sleep, health, family time, wealth might be in. I don't remember if wealth is in there. And basically how much time he spends on each thing, and then every day he rates how he feels on each one of those areas. And then over time he's accumulated all this data, and he can go back and say, okay, well, this day I felt really good, and it actually bears out that I did really well in XYZ area. This day I rated it, if it's a scale of 1 to 10, I rated it a 6, and I struggled in my health. Well, I rated a 6 because I didn't work out that day or whatever. And I think that's kind of the gist of it, but he's like extrapolated it. I like to mispronounce words. All the stuff extrapolated.
Extrapolated. It's okay.
Extrapolated.
I struggle with words in Spanish too. It's okay.
So anyways, but he's optimized his life. And I mean, I think a lot of successful people do that, who are very, very productive, and they're able to fit a lot of work into the same time that everyone else has. Is they just, like what you told me earlier, you're just doing what you really ultimately want to do. So it's not that you don't have time for it.
It's what you prioritize stronger.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. And like, I don't think there's one set way for everyone to be their most productive. I think it's kind of like everyone's unique. So I think everyone has a unique way to be more productive. Like Mr. Beast talks about how he will literally work 14, 16-hour days every single day up until the point that he burns out. And then when he burns out, he'll spend the full day just kind of on the couch, relaxing, playing video games, whatever. And then he just takes those 24 hours to himself and then gets back on the horse the next day and see how many days in a row he can do 16-hour work days. So everyone has their thing, you know, just have to find what works for you. It's kind of like a diet. Every diet works. You just have to find the one that works for you.
Yeah. Must be what Elon is doing, running 4 or 5 different companies.
Elon's a genius too.
But they're all men.
Well,
and what I mean by that, not that they're like their gender, I meant like they're humans.
Well, yeah, I think people are capable of a lot more than we tend to think we are.
Yep.
So
100%.
Cool, man. Well, thanks for hopping on for my first ever YouTube live.
Yes. Glad I could be here.
Next time I'll sign into the right StreamYard account so I don't have all the logos and everything.
What do you mean? I love that duck. It's my favorite duck.
Yeah.
All right, man.
Cool.
Take care.
All right.
Easy. Have a good night.
See ya.